Today's video is about the 10 essential words associated with politics that you need to know. So if you're preparing a topic for an ESL exam or you simply want to expand your English vocabulary, then this is the video for you. Have you ever watched the news or read an online article on politics and felt beyond confused? Like, what just happened there? All this political jibber-jabber can be extremely overwhelming, even for us native English speakers. Well, thankfully, you have me, and I'm gonna add 10 utterly important words related to politics to your vocabulary reserve. And we're gonna start with the term diet. Wait, what? In politics, a diet is an assembly, and specifically a deliberative assembly, where members of a political party gather to make decisions like passing laws. In other words, it's a type of state model. But as with nutrition, not all countries adopt the same diet, or a diet at all. Let me explain. In countries like Japan, the legislature is called the Diet because it's modeled on the deliberative assembly of Imperial Germany called the Diet, which in turn is based on the deliberative body of the Holy Roman Empire. The word most likely derives from the ancient Greek word dieta, meaning way of life. It was very much later in time associated with assembly, probably because of the regular time people had spent having assembly meetings during their political life. Kinda like Zoom meetings are part of our daily life. So if you ever run into this term when the Japanese government is involved, you'll know what it's all about. Next is the term the corridors of power, or power corridors. It refers to the higher levels of government, or the higher echelons of government, where issues are discussed and very important political decisions are made. And so, if you ever read a news article about, say, what was discussed amongst senior government officials about a certain law being passed, it could say something like, would he provide confidential information from within the corridors of power? Or in another example, imagine that you're having an issue with your local government body and you have a friend who used to work there. And so they know quite a few senior government officials. That friend can be said to know their way around the corridor of power. And you'll notice that when you refer to the corridor of power, you're using vocabulary that's associated with indoor or outdoor spaces. The expression to know your way around means to be familiar with an area, like a corridor or even a city. Moving on to the very popular term whistleblower. It literally means the person who blows the whistle. But in politics, it refers to a person who gives away information about another person, like a politician, or an organization that engages in unlawful activity. It takes a lot of guts to be a whistleblower because you're potentially putting yourself in a very delicate and compromised situation, especially if you're disclosing information about naughty politicians and dirty governments. A very well-known whistleblower is Edward Snowden, who in 2013 exposed the US and other governments for conducting global mass surveillance by publishing US intelligence documents on the web. A video about politics would not be complete without the term red tape. If you're like me and you're from a country like Ukraine, you'll know what I mean in a minute. Red tape is an idiom that refers to excessive bureaucracy and regulations that prevent you from taking action, like something as simple as applying for a passport. It's like that Asterix and Obelix episode called The Place That Sends You Mad, where they had to find permit A38. So imagine that you need to transfer the legal title of your car to your parent, and the relevant government authority forces you to fill out 10 forms, provide a notarized birth certificate, and sacrifice a firstborn male goat. And you'll notice that most so-called banana republics have a lot of red tape. A banana republic, also sometimes called a banana state, is a derogatory term used to describe a small, poor, and politically unstable country, governed by an authoritarian regime, and its key defining feature is government corruption. The term was coined in the early 1900s by an American writer called O. Henry in one of his short stories, which he based on his personal experience in Honduras. Note that, and I can't emphasize this enough, a banana republic is not an official term, and it's instead used by people like journalists and political scientists. Now we can all agree that doctors are part of a highly respected profession and deserve our utter respect. But not spin doctors. A spin doctor is a spokesperson who gives favorable interpretation of events to the media, especially on behalf of a political personality or party. A spin is a form of propaganda, and a spin doctor is a skilled public relations person who advises and speaks on behalf of political parties to turn stories in their favor. They're known for cherry-picking facts, that is, selectively presenting facts that support their position, as well as using techniques like the non-denial denial and the non-apology apology. You may have heard a political spokesperson use expressions like "mistakes were made" in order to shift the direct blame away from themselves, so that the mistake isn't directly associated with the politician or political party in question. So let's say that you're writing an English essay and you want to say that a political party or the elected president of a country won an election with a large majority of votes. Instead of using that long sentence, won an election with a large majority of votes, you could just say that they won by a landslide. In a literal sense, a landslide is a large amount of earth and rock that moves very, very quickly down a steep slope, like a hill. And the idea here is that so many people voted for a particular politician that it was like a landslide that overtook other candidates. In the context of voting, we also have the terms constituency and constituent. Basically, a constituency is an area of a country that is represented by a certain elected official. So if you're a politician, for example, and you come from a specific constituency in your country, you're very likely going to be interested in promoting the interests of that area, that is, that constituency. Similarly, a constituent is a person that lives in a constituency and therefore votes in a specific area for a political candidate. For example, the politician Bob Bobsky was unable to secure the votes of his constituents. Next is the term pundit. It's a person who is an expert and often works for the media or is asked by the media to give their expert opinion on a matter. That could be politics or even sports. For example, CNN asked the political pundit John to give his opinion on the latest US election scandal. The term checks and balances is something that you will very often hear on the news associated with politics. Simply put, it refers to the system and principle of government where each branch of government has the power to check the actions of the other branches. This kind of political setup ensures that power is distributed appropriately. So imagine that a government is composed of the executive, judiciary, and legislature. Each of these branches has the power to check on the other two branches so that there's no abuse of power. Well, that was it. I hope that you guys found this video useful and informative. Let me know in your comments if you knew any of these words, and make sure to give this video a like and hit that subscribe button to never miss an English lesson.